All right, what's going on, you guys? Nick here with Nick Strength and Power, and today we are just 4 days away from the 2025 Arnold Classic in Columbus, Ohio. And we're going to start out with the latest physique updates at 4 days out from Mike Sommerfeld. So we got a couple of updates. We got these pictures with him and his coach, Neil Yoda Hill, looking ultra muscular in these updates. And again, on some of the posts that I see of Mike, the comment sections are pretty split. There's a lot of people that think he's the future of classic physique, and rightfully so. He was second to only Chris Bumstead this year at the Olympia. He's the on-paper favorite for many people to win this Arnold, even against Wesley Vissers, the defending Arnold Classic champion. But then I was looking at this video that I saw. I believe this was on Bodybuilders Without Borders Instagram page. And this is a video of Mike from 4 days out, and he looks crazy. Like I said, very muscular for a classic guy. His conditioning looks great. He's got striated glutes, separated, dense, grainy muscle. But the comment section seemed really split. Like I said, a lot of people feel like he's easily going to win this. He's the future of classic physique. But I also see a lot of comments saying he's not as classic as a guy like Logan, or not as classic as a guy like Wesley, and even comparing him to other guys that aren't doing this particular show like Terrence or Urs. And I think that's a very interesting discussion, because the definition of what is classic physique, I think, is even more subjective than bodybuilding criteria, because classic physique, everybody has their favorite classic guys, their favorite classic looks, and really some people have different versions in mind of what era we're talking about when we say classic physique. Are we talking about the 70s? Are we talking about the 80s, the 60s? I think it's a little bit more loose and open to interpretation of what you like for classic physique. So I wanted to start out this video with kind of that discussion and see what you guys think in the comments below. What are your opinions on this kind of classic physique debate, specifically pertaining to Mike Sommerfeld? Like, obviously, his physique looks incredible here. On paper, I think he's certainly the favorite. Very muscular, very conditioned, really freaky physique for a classic guy. And by the way, I've seen some of his guest posings that were after the Olympia. And I think we talked about him on the channel already, but he's a fantastic poser as well, which I think is something worth including in that classic physique criteria of what is classic physique to you. And as we've looked at some of the updates from Wesley or from Logan over the past few days, the past few weeks, what do you think of these updates compared to those? I mean, not just in terms of muscularity, not just in terms of condition, because obviously Mike has that. Very conditioned, very muscular, but in terms of how you view the classic physique division. And I think that discussion is especially relevant now that the classic physique Olympia title is vacant. Chris Bumstead is gone, so this year in 2025 will kind of be a redefining year for classic physique. Whoever wins the Olympia this year, that's going to set the tone for what are the judges looking for now. What is the standard for classic in the absence of Chris? Because Chris has been that standard for so many years. And this Arnold, being the second biggest show in bodybuilding, the first show of 2025, the first show of a year with a vacant division at the Olympia, this show will be kind of our first glimpse at what those judges are thinking the future of classic physique looks like without Chris as that standard. And obviously Mike was second to Chris at the Olympia. So maybe Mike's physique, even though it's very apples and oranges to Chris's, kind of a different style of a classic physique, maybe that could be the new standard going forward. And if Mike does win this Arnold, like a lot of people are anticipating he will, I feel like that could be kind of a harbinger of things to come at the Olympia. Now, another guy that I wanted to talk about doing classic physique that I've been very impressed by, he was a top 10 Olympian this year, Matt Greggo. We've obviously talked a lot about Logan. We've talked a lot about Wesley. We've talked a lot about Mike. I've talked about Matt a couple of times, but these updates that I saw from him today at 4 days out, his physique really impresses me. And we talked about his transformation over the past 2 years, the amount of size that he's put on. I really like his look. And I guess actually in terms of classic physique, we're really talking about more like 3 days out, because the classic physique finals are actually on Friday night. So men's open bodybuilding prejudging is Friday, but their finals are not till Saturday. So for men's open, we're saying 4 days. For classic physique, I guess it really is 3. But back to Matt, I kind of have the same compliments that I would say about Mike Sommerfeld. He's got a very muscular physique. His conditioning looks good, but he's a little bit taller, so his frame kind of spreads out that size a little bit better than I think Mike's does. So people saying that Mike looks so muscular, he should do 212 rope and bodybuilding. I think it's because he's a little bit shorter and more compact, so the size that he has, it looks different on his frame than it looks for Matt. I really like Matt's look, and I think he's going to do very well here. And we're probably going to see a lot of updates over the next couple days in this same backdrop. I've noticed that this gym in Columbus, like everybody now takes their physique update pictures and videos there because the lighting in that posing room appears to be so good. But let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. When it comes to classic physique, what are your predictions for the top three? You know, we've talked about Michael DeBull, Mike Sommerfeld, Wesley Vissers, Matt Greggo. I think those are definitely the core guys that are in the running, Logan Franklin too, in the running for that top three. What is your top three and in what order? Now, speaking of classic physique, Sam Sulek posted a new YouTube video today at 3 days out from the Arnold Classic Amateur, where he's going to be competing in classic physique after qualifying by doing the NPC Legends Classic in Las Vegas, where he won his class, he won the overall title, qualifying him for the Arnold Amateur. And the important thing here is the Arnold Amateur is serious in the sense that Sam could potentially earn a pro card at this show. And that's obviously been a huge topic of conversation in the bodybuilding world here lately. Now, Sam has said going into this Arnold that his focus here is to improve his conditioning and improve his posing, specifically the way he was posing his legs at that show, or maybe you could say not posing them. But I personally feel like Sam is going to have a better look here at the Arnold than he had at the Vegas show for a number of reasons. One of them being, again, when you consider the fact that the Vegas show was his first show ever, his first time competing, having to travel from Ohio to Vegas for your first ever show, I think is a lot of added stress for a guy that's never competed. Now, the Arnold is basically right in Sam's backyard. He's from Columbus. He's really not going to have to travel at all to do that show. So I think he's going to be much more comfortable, much more relaxed, and much less jet-lagged or whatever from travel because he lives there. He's from there, which to a guy that's not used to competing, like when we talk about pros, they're used to traveling. They're used to flying to shows. They're used to all that. A guy like Sam really isn't. He's never competed before. So I think that will actually be something that leads to him having a better look on stage because his stress will just overall be lower, and I feel like he'll be more comfortable competing essentially in his hometown. And then the other thing, too, is now that he has actual feedback from the judges at the show that he did, he has an idea of exactly what he needs to work on versus him just wondering or reading YouTube comments or whatever. He knows what they want to see from him. So I think we will see a better version of Sam, but again, I don't think it's going to be a significantly different version of Sam because it's only been a couple of weeks. He doesn't really have a massive amount of time to work on these things. Even things like the posing, a couple of weeks could make a difference, but I don't think a massive difference in a couple of weeks is going to be something that we should expect. He probably could come in a lot tighter here, significantly tighter than the other show, but as far as other things, I wouldn't say it's like you're going to see a completely different version of Sam just 2 weeks after the Vegas show. Now, the amateur show that Sam is doing, I'm going to try to be there in person to cover. It's a little hard to predict with the amateur shows when Sam is actually going to be on stage because there could be hundreds of competitors at this show. I have no idea how many. There usually are hundreds that compete at the Arnold Amateur. Now, I know they're starting out with men's bodybuilding for prejudging, all the categories, and that could run hours. And that starts at 8 a.m. on Thursday and is slated to run till 6 p.m. because the finals are going to start 30 minutes after prejudging. So it's going to be bodybuilding, classic physique, the men's, and then they're going to run through every other division, and then 30 minutes after that, then they'll start finals. So it's kind of hard to say exactly when you'll see Sam on stage, exactly when you'll see at the finals, if he gets a pro card or not, how he actually places. But that amateur show is essentially going to run all day. I mean, that's almost 12 hours, 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. So we'll probably have a better idea right after prejudging to see how quickly men's open bodybuilding goes, the classic physique goes, and then get kind of maybe a rough idea of what time he'll be on stage for the finals, because obviously I think most fans aren't going to sit there. Well, maybe some will because it is Sam Sulek, but I think most fans probably won't sit and watch the amateur for 10 hours straight. But I'm just kind of guesstimating that if the prejudging starts at 8, maybe you'll see Sam on stage for the prejudging maybe around 10 to 11 a.m. would be my guess. And then I would guess maybe 3 or 4. You'd see him on stage for the finals, but again, really no way of knowing. And we'll have more information on that. And again, this is Thursday. And we won't really know until we actually see the show what kind of competition Sam is looking at as far as the caliber of the other competitors, because unlike, it's not a pro show. They're not releasing a full competitor list for every division. So we really don't know who all is going to be here. So it's really tough to make any predictions as to whether or not Sam's going to win or get his pro card until we actually see who he's facing at this show. But I will say this, I don't think it's impossible that Sam could leave this Arnold Amateur as an IFBB pro. That could be something that we see happen this weekend. I think that's totally on the table, totally in the cards. It very well could happen. But we're just going to have to wait and see. Now, next up in the news, let's talk about men's open bodybuilding a little bit. So James Hollingshead with Rep 1 posted a 4 days out posing video, again in that same gym, the pros gym that has the really good lighting in Columbus. And I feel like James is a little bit of a wild card here because he's a great bodybuilder. He's got a ton of size. We're used to seeing him in really good condition. But we haven't seen him compete as recently as most of this lineup. And I think obviously the big one is the Olympia. I think when you're talking about the Arnold and the proximity to the Olympia, and you've got so many big names coming directly from the O, Sampson, Derek, Andrew Jacked, William Bonac, Brandon Curry, those are the guys more fresh on your mind, and those are the guys where you have a little bit of a better idea, again, with how close the Olympia was, of where they're going to place relative to each other. Whereas James, we didn't get to see at the Olympia this year. We don't really know how James stacks up next to this current version of Brandon Curry, William Bonac, Andrew Jacked, for example. So I feel like James is one of these guys that could be maybe a surprise addition to that top 5 at this year's Arnold. I think he looks great in this update. And again, we'll just say 4 days out for talking about open bodybuilding and 3 days out for classic physique, even though we will see the open guys do their prejudging on Friday. Their finals is not until Saturday, but classic physique finals are Friday night. So we'll call that 3 days out. When we talk about open, we're talking about 4 days. Now, another guy that we haven't talked about as much that's competing in men's open, he's been posting a lot of updates this past week, Justin Luis Rodriguez. We've talked about him in several videos, and the fact that he did have a year where he did really well. There was a year at the Arnold where at prejudging he was actually top 3, then slipped at the finals, and that same year was the year that he almost beat William Bonac at the Boston Pro right after the Arnold. So he had some years where he was really good, and then he kind of slipped in placings from that point forward. And based on the updates that he's been posting, he looks really good, but I feel like he is kind of one of these guys where I end up saying this year after year. He looks crazy in some of these Instagram updates, but on stage, it hasn't really been translating. But could he be a guy that's a little bit of a dark horse here for a conversation of top 5? I think him and James are kind of in that same category, although James hasn't been on a downward trajectory. But I think when we're talking about Justin or talking about James or even Carlos Thomas Jr., I think we're less talking about could they win the show, and we're more talking about could they be in the first call-out conversation for top 5? Could they be in the money and surprise us? And maybe Justin could be one of those guys. Now, this week so far, when it comes to the top guys, has been a little bit slow. We've seen nothing from Sampson this week, nothing from Derek this week as far as a physique update goes. Nothing from Brandon, nothing from Andrew Jacked, nothing from William Bonac. And I think those are the guys that a lot of people have in their top 5. And I would assume over the next couple of days, as we get closer to the actual show, and more of these guys are actually arriving in Columbus, and they start meeting up with their coaches or going to the gym, they start posing in the posing room, taking pictures, I think we'll start to see more updates from some of these top guys as they actually get to Columbus. I think a lot of them are not even there yet. So you can expect to see that this week, but let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. That's going to wrap it up for the video today, guys. I hope you did, in fact, enjoy it. Make sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel, click that bell notification icon if you have not already. And as always, I love you guys. Appreciate you guys. Nick Strength and Power signing out. All right, guys, don't forget to click that like button and subscribe to this channel if you enjoy the content. Also, check out my Instagram at Nick Strength Power. My Facebook page, which is simply Nick Strength and Power. My secondary YouTube channel, Nick Strength and Vlogs, for vlogs and bonus content that you will not see on this channel. And consider subscribing to my third YouTube channel, Nick Strength and Pokemon, which is all things Pokemon and trading card games, completely unrelated to this channel. So if you're into that, give that one a look. And all links to merchandise and social media will be in the description box below. If you guys want a Nick Strength and Power t-shirt, that will be in the Shopify link below. Have a great day.